preserving that internal anointing will change a human being forever. It will wash away temptation. It will wash away sin. But still we go around rubbing oil on people's heads. It's so silly when our anatomy has its own oil. It has its own oil. And only by living with discipline and with fasting and with charity to others and good, clean thoughts can you be saved by the Christ that is within you, the Chrism. The Anointed One.
Weapons always close to end, for he has seen too much hatred. Only weapon that he chooses is love, universal call, now for justice.
Hey guys, I want to make a little video while I'm sitting here about anointing. And you know, the word anointing is used in many different ways, but the problem I have with it is it's also, if you look at the same thing as I said about baptism, it often really doesn't help to wet somebody's head, for instance, who is a drug addict. They'll still be a drug addict. But if you baptize them in the true sense of the origins of the Christian text, and you raise their consciousness from earth level to water level, remember the 4 levels of consciousness in Greek mysticism, as I've said many, many times, earth, water, air, fire, and you raise them up, then it's worthwhile doing, because they move from beta, where they're always thinking and in their habitual ways of being, up to alpha, and they get a break. And actually we know that you can recover addiction through meditation because of this reason. So anointing is the same thing. You know, in many Catholic ceremonies, they anoint with oil on the head. And the anointing is not, it's not an anointing of that way. And the thing is, people have, they say they feel the anointing coming over them, etc. The truth is, I've said before, I've spoken before about Chrism. And what Chrism is. Chrism is not a mixture of frankincense and perfume and oil and all of this stuff. Chrism is an internal secretion which comes from within yourself at the same time when the moon is passing through your sun sign, the star sign in which you were born. When the moon passes through there, I've made a full video about this before, but you secrete a substance which the ancients called chrism. If you look at the etymology of the word Christ, the chrism, the anointing, the anointed one. So what it was saying is that the Christ dwells within each human being. And if you want to be saved, you don't need olive oil on your forehead. This doesn't work. Does not work. It doesn't at all. We know it doesn't. You can come here now and I can take you to young men who are struggling with drug addiction, alcohol addiction, young men and women. And you can rub olive oil on their head until the rest of the year. Nothing will happen. But if you teach them how to create the correct space within their body, within their temple, to be able to have an anointing of the chrism. So you make the body alkaline, you make it clean, you teach them to abstain from sex at the certain time of the month when the moon is in their star sign. You teach them to eat with temperance and to have an alkaline body. You teach them to eat foods that will alkalize them at that time of the month as well. And you nurture and preserve this, what they call it, psychophysical germ that is born in your solar plexus, which combines with this oil, as the ancients say. Then they will raise up in their energy in such a way that temptation is almost a joke. because they truly become anointed. And the Bible references this, that the anointing you seek is within you, and that the Lord has anointed you with the anointing of gladness. This is basically telling you that those who live a righteous life, those who live a positively pious life, shall we say, those who seek God earnestly, and not only seek God, but seek to do the will and the goodness that we wish to see in humanity, and also practice a level of discipline with their own bodies, will be anointed internally. And that secretion, which comes from the colostrum, which travels down the 33 vertebrae and then returns, and then it crosses the vagus nerve, meets with the pituitary and pineal, at which point it sits, first of all, in the hypothalamus. It sits in the tomb just as Jesus did for 2.5 days, and then it is crucified. It's amplified in power. You see, once it comes up here and it's crucified on this nerve and it moves into the hypothalamus, it sits for 2.5 days. Then it moves up and it is amplified in power. It ascends to the promised land flowing with milk and honey. The pituitary, pineal, serotonin, DMT are secreted. You go into a vibratory state which is second to none. No drug can come close to it. Your mental state of clarity is profound. You are in an absolute thoughtless state and you are perfectly present. This is the anointing. This is the best anointing for the planet, because if all humans can be anointed whilst following the moral guidance code of the spoken word of someone like Jesus Christ, or someone like the Buddha, or someone like the mythological characters of Krishna, etc., or following the teachings of the Vedas and the Upanishads, the Dharmas, Zoroaster, following the moral guidance and code, whilst embracing and preserving that internal anointing, will change a human being forever. It will wash away temptation. It will wash away sin. But still we go around rubbing oil on people's heads. It's so silly when our anatomy has its own oil. It has its own oil. And only by living with discipline and with fasting and with charity to others and good, clean thoughts can you be saved by the Christ that is within you, the Chrism. The anointed one. And you too can be anointed right here, exactly where the church anoints you, but internally. And when you do, you open the doorway. Just like if you want to watch a certain channel on your TV, you've got to tune it in. You want to watch a different radio, listen to a different radio, you've got to tune it in. Well, not so much with digital these days, I guess. But just the same, if you want to go up from this physical density, talk to God. Got to tune in. You can't tune in any faster than anointing yourself. But to anoint yourself, you've got to have temperance, discipline, you've got to understand it. I've used this to do what I do here. I have anointed myself every 28 days since I got here. I think one time I missed it. One time I messed it up. I feel it happen. My mind becomes clear. If you went through my YouTube videos and you looked at the time, if you had the patience to do so, when the moon is in Aries, and then look at the videos I made at that point, when I could feel it at its most strong, its most profound, strong vibrational state of that internal anointing, you would see that I speak much more clearly, much more direct and much more passionately. Because I'm then an open channel to God. We can all be an open channel to God. As long as we get mature. And start asking. Start asking about these internal workings that are laid out in the allegory, or the allegorical layer of the Bible. And we start asking about the allegorical deities of old, with the pine cones dripping with honey. We start asking why, after Samson slays the ego, which is the lion, he finds honey inside it. We start asking why Dionysus carries a staff with a pine cone dripping with honey. We start asking why the largest statue in the Vatican is a pine cone. But if we just keep going around with these rituals, rubbing oil on people's heads and dunking them in water, and then hoping that's going to make them a good person, I don't think that's enough. And without any shadow of a doubt, the Christ seed within us, the true meaning of the word to be saved by the Christ internally, can actually save us. The foundations are in place on the planet. There's a Christian teachings in every town, village and city on the planet. There's also Islamic. If you then taught people that there's a part of your anatomy that allows you to alter your vibratory state, alter your state of psyche, and alter your ability to commune with that which we perceive as supernatural, or ultimately the other densities of our dimensions of reality, then people would practice it. And in practicing it, people would find God. And when people find God, they have faith in God. And when people have faith in God, they start helping others instead of trying to preserve themselves through the lack of faith. So anoint yourselves internally. Preserve the Christ within you. And know that even the very meaning of the word Christ is to be anointed with oil. Anoint yourselves. And then maybe you can come to countries like this one, where the innocent need it the most, and build the things that God managed to build with myself, because I embraced the internal anointing that is spoken of in the Bible, but not seen by many who read it, but could be with ease. God bless, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.